What you are about to listen to is me, Pastor Michael Bowman, as I think out loud about and try to apply the scripture to anything and everything that comes to mind. This usually happens in my car, so jump in and let's talk. I think it's likely that I'm sure this is what I've already done, but lately I've just been thinking a lot more about kind of the natural world and farming, just as my wife and I kind of engage a little bit more into different aspects of farming, and so it's very likely that some of those things are going to come out in this particular platform because it's what I'm kind of thinking about, and it's the kind of thing that's kind of running through my mind. But one of those things that is on my mind is an idea that I heard. It really just is a phrase, and I can explain what it means, and I don't even know if I have anything to add to it, or if I'm just kind of passing on an idea that I heard that I find interesting, and this is like an audio diary for me or something. But I've been watching a lot and listening to a lot from a guy that calls himself the Farmstead Meatsmith. He does a lot of kind of traditional butchery, and especially while I was getting ready to butcher a pig, I was watching a lot of his videos on how to butcher and, you know, the best cuts and things like that. And his focus is really on, you know, the homestead or farmstead or like a household doing this, rather than maybe a more streamlined industrial process, and especially how to use like every part of the pig. Now, he does stuff that I just can't imagine I will ever do, with, you know, blood sausage and head cheese and things that I find revolting, and I don't think that's ever going to change. However, I do like the general idea of, you know, use everything. When you butcher an animal, you use everything. You're thankful for the provision that God gives through this animal. So trying to, you know, use it to the best of your ability is, I think, an honorable way to go about utilizing this animal. So anyway, he spoke about this, and when he was talking about the butchering of a pig, one of the things he talked about was what he called the burden of abundance. And I love that phrase, the burden of abundance. And he was talking about it in a very specific context, and maybe I'll try to broaden it out a little bit more. The specific context was that of butchering a pig. So when you butcher a pig, the thing about pigs compared to even other animals when you butcher them, and I haven't butchered everything in my life, but we've butchered quite a few different animals through what we're doing, and it's something that me and my family enjoy doing together and enjoy participating in, kind of preparing our own food. One of the things that you find out is that with a pig, almost everything is usable. Everything is usable if you're willing to do some of the aforementioned things that I just find revolting. But basically every piece of this animal is usable for food in one way or another, or for some other purpose. And it's amazing. Even when we butchered our pig, I was just so struck by how little was left over. And I wasn't the most careful. It was the first pig that I'd butchered all by myself, and I was not being incredibly careful about it. And there was still so little left over. Well, this is part of the burden of abundance, though, is that when you get into it, all of a sudden you've got so much meat to work with that you've got to package and store, you've got to preserve it. You've got so much fat, just so much that you have to render. You've got so much meat that, you know, if you want to make sausage, to turn it into sausage, and you've got to grind it all down. And, there is so much to do. You've got different, organs and the organ meat and things like that are so good for you that, you know, are good to use in some way. But you have to deal with it. You have to use it. You have to do something with it. And so there's an abundance, but there is a kind of burden that comes with it because you have to do all of this. So, you know, very often it means that when you're doing butchering, you're doing it for the whole day. It's a project that you set aside a large portion of your time to do. It takes hard work, but it also then takes space. You have to have, freezer space if you're freezing this stuff, or you have to have some other way of being able to preserve it and store this food. Or in, maybe an older way of doing things, one of the things you would do is when you butcher a pig, you could have everybody that come on out, and we all kind of do this together, and then we eat one of the pigs together. We just have a big pig roast or something like that. We have a big meal together. And there's something beautiful even in that image itself. But thinking about this idea of the burden of abundance, you see it's true more generally too, that as you are given more, it does come with more responsibility. It comes with a greater burden. So the larger your family, well, now the greater the burden of providing for them, of instructing them, of caring for them, of loving them, of shepherding them. The bigger your church, the greater the burden of dealing with the various pastoral issues that come about. The more money you have, like the greater the difficulty of trying to save and preserve it, trying to find ways to use it or grow it or just keep it around until you want to use it. There's just so much to do the more that you're given. And I want to think about this because I'll talk about this another time, but just the idea that God has made a world full of abundance, that abundance is everywhere. God gives and he gives and he gives. He gives us his grace upon grace, and it just is overflowing. And it happens all around us. It happens in us, most importantly, spiritually speaking, but it's also just how God has made the world because it's a part of his character. And so this is something to think about, maybe as maybe in the future I kind of bring this up, is this is a world of abundance, but what does it look like then to take on that burden of abundance? Because if you want to enjoy the fullness of the abundant life that God has given in all areas of life, that requires a kind of burden. It requires a kind of responsibility to pursue that and to actually engage in it. You can pass by much of the abundance that God has given, not take on much of a burden, but then you also won't taste and see the reward. You won't enjoy the fullness of the reward that comes with pursuing what it is that we're supposed to be. So I'll talk about this more sometime, but maybe it will strike you as interesting. Again, I'm just struck by this phrase, the burden of abundance. Hey guys, I hope this has been helpful for you. If it has been, go ahead and rate it, review it, or share it with a friend, especially if you're in La Crosse, Wisconsin, or the surrounding areas. That helps me expand the audience and hopefully increase the impact of these ideas. If you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns on anything that I just talked about, you can reach me at pastormichaeljbowman@gmail.com. You can find more content from me, as well as information about the church that I pastor at ccc-pca.org. With that, I hope you can enjoy the many blessings of God today. Until next time.